The Shop, A Tale of Frightful Incompetence. Written by W.P. Thrift. Read by Lantis Armstrong on Twitter. Chapter 11. The End of the Shop. Paul arrived at work early the next morning. Before he even opened up the sandwich shop for the day, he went straight to the computer repair shop. The sign said open, and it was unlocked, but there were no signs of the tenants to be found. He opened the door, and the odor which struck him nearly knocked him flat. Gagging, choking, and waving a hand rapidly back and forth in front of his face in a vain attempt to fight off the smell, he only made it a single step inside of the shop before he was forced to retreat down the sidewalk, where he ducked into the alleyway and vomited.
"What have those animals done to my precious door?"
Paul's mind raced. Finally retreating to his office inside of the sandwich shop, he held his head in his hands as he rested his elbows on the desk. Paul felt fearful for the first time that he may not be seeing quite as much money as he expected from those three. He thought for sure that the speech that he gave them yesterday would have struck the fear of God into them and motivated them to at least have most of the rent ready by today. But seeing the conditions of the shop had blown his mind. He couldn't see much, as the smell fought viciously to keep him out of it, sealing the secrets inside away from him. But he was certain it couldn't be good.
Where did I go so wrong?
Paul asked himself.
How could I have been so blind to their incompetence? No, that's not right. I never did anything wrong, not me. They are the ones that wronged me, and they shall suffer for it.
The bell at the front door rang as someone entered the sandwich shop. As he had locked the door behind him, he knew it could only be Annabelle, showing up for work. He got up and went out to see her. Sure enough, she had just entered and was now putting on an apron and getting ready to take out the frozen bread and toast it in the oven so it'd be ready shortly, as customers would begin arriving for breakfast. All the bread in his store was bought from Tons of Buns. Paul had a good business relationship with Mr. and Mrs. Bunn.
Annabelle,
Paul called her.
What is your opinion on the tenants of the computer repair shop?
They seem like nice enough fellows, Annabelle said while working. They could do with a thorough wash. But nobody's perfect, I suppose.
Nobody may be perfect, but their lot is the furthest thing from perfection that I can even fathom,
Paul grimaced. Also, this may be only speculation, but I think they may be living in their shop. Annabelle was just thinking out loud, and felt bad soon as she said it. She didn't want to get them in any trouble, so she quickly added, "Oh, I meant sometimes. They might have slept there overnight, I mean. Probably just hard at work. I mean, I see their car parked outside as I'm leaving at nights, and it's still there as I'm arriving in the morning." The potato car was out there now, parked down the road at a nearby gas station, where Bowman had driven to pick up some smokes, only to run out of gas. He told the owner he was going to leave it there until he could afford to fuel back up, which was true, but that was also a week ago, and Bowman hadn't even been searching for gas money since.
I'm certain that they're squatting there.
Paul was fighting the urge to grind his teeth together.
Though where they've gone off to this morning is beyond me. Do they think if they hide from me for long enough that I will just forget about the debt I'm owed?
Well, see? there you go, Annabel said. They likely just went home, perhaps in a cab. They'll be back into work bright and early this morning, and we'll have your check for you then.
I never suspected that you were so naive,
Paul said. I only want to think the best of people. What's so wrong with that? Annabel replied. They're always perfect gentlemen when they come in here. They never bother me like some people in this town do. They just get their refills and leave.
Refills?
Paul asked, confused. Yes, the free refills that come with the purchase of their cups. Paul gasped.
That's why my books were so off on the gallons of soda I have been buying versus how much money I make off of it. You idiot! It's not unlimited refills for life. It's one free refill per cup.
Annabel stopped working and stood up straight to face Paul. Now, listen here. The store policy is free refills with cups. If it were one free refill, then you should change the sign.
Do not argue with me,
Paul shot back.
Saying one free refill is off-putting, but it's still implied. You're not only naive, but you're dense. You have no business sense whatsoever, and that makes perfect sense to me, because you're just a spoiled rich girl who never learned the value of $1.
Excuse me, Annabel gasped. I work very hard every single day, while you just sit back there in your office and count your money. I may come from a wealthy family, but you are the one who acts like a spoiled miser.
Get out now!
Paul shouted.
You are fired!
Annabel didn't need to be told twice. She tossed off her apron and left the store. The oven was still on, warming up the bread. But that'd be his problem. If he knows so much about running a business, surely he'd be aware of the processes within the one he's running. When Annabel stepped outside, a fevered chill came over her. She sneezed and put a hand to her forehead to see if she was running a temperature. It seemed fine. A chilled wind hit her, and she looked over towards the computer repair shop, and for a moment she could swear a cloud of darkness clung like tar to the side. Blinking, she now only saw an old lady peering in through the window. A tall and skeletal lady with an afro, sunglasses, and long fingernails. And then the lady looked back at her. One more blink, and she was right in front of her.
Well, excuse me, rar,
Mar said.
I'm looking for the boy, the one who lives in that shop. Might you knows where I can find him?
Annabel fought back a scream, as the monster's movements were so sudden. She moved like she was stepping through moments of time rather than through space. But Annabel had dealt with all kinds of monsters in this town, and knew how to steady herself when she talked to them. Giving away that you're afraid is the quickest way to get yourself killed. If anybody would know that, it would be Paul, Annabel said, thumbing back towards the sandwich shop. He is their landlord, you see. She left out the part where Paul was also looking for them, but Annabel figured the two of them could search together. She took off towards her car, wanting to get home as quickly as possible. What she'd do for a day job next, she didn't know nor care. Mar slithered inside the sandwich shop, the ringing bell making Paul come back out of his office.
I should have switched the sign over to closed. My apologies,
Paul said.
I just fired the employee for this shift, and have not yet had the time to call anyone else into work.
I wants to know where the boy is,
Mar said.
I demands it.
Is that the name of a sandwich?
Paul asked, confused.
The computer shop, boy. Where's is it?
Mar demanded, louder.
Oh, do you know the men who run the computer repair shop?
I am Mumsy dearest ones of them. Rawr!
Oh, I see.
Paul beamed, an idea suddenly coming to him.
Then it shall be your responsibility to pay me off. I demand $2,000 plus a 50% 1-day late fee, bringing the total up to $3,000, or I shall see you in court.
Paul was quite happy about having found someone that could pay him the money he was owed. However, Mar didn't respond, so he decided to explain further.
Look, they owe me rent, and a lot of it. The late fees do compound upon one another, so it'll increase by $1,500 tomorrow, not a mere $1,000. That is your fair warning. So you better pay up soon. Right, yes, you pay me. You're the one who failed to raise whoever your son is. Right. So the burden of all of his failures falls to you. Are you even listening to me?
The boy. Where's is it? Brings it to me?
Mar demanded again.
I don't know that, woman. He ran out. They all did.
Mar turned to leave, but Paul grabbed her by the arm and forcefully turned her back to face him. Mar looked completely shocked by this, though her shocked expression turned to manic fury as she lifted one of her clawed hands into the air. She slowly cocked her head to one side as her teeth began to rapidly chatter, making a sound like a rattlesnake's rattle.
Do not ignore me. This is a very serious matter, which I believe we can resolve like grown adults. You owe me a lot of Oh! Is that my spleen?
Blood painted the walls inside of the sandwich shop in an instant, and the mangled, bloody torso of Paul was tossed outside onto the street. The shop trio were making their way back when flashing blue lights gave them pause. Radix instinctively wanted to turn back, knowing that no matter what the police were there for, he would get blamed and sent to prison. It'd been a constant burden for him his entire life. "They're at the shop," Lantis noticed. "That they are. Let's weave through some buildings to avoid them," Radix suggested.
You want me to walk more?
Bowman gasped. "You'll be fine," Radix promised, ducking off to the side to go behind some shops on the other side of the street.
You and yours,
Bowman declared, irate at having the length of his journey marginally increased. "What are they doing there?" Lantis asked. "Please tell me they're hauling off Sheep Eater. There's got to be some kind of noise violation charges they can pin on him."
Nah,
Monsters can't be arrested for anything since the Supreme Court case Roe vs. Giant Sand Mutant, Radix explained. But I still can. So, be quiet when we sneak past them, okay? Why would they arrest you? Lantis asked. Good fucking question, Radix shot back, taking his anger out on Lantis. As they passed by an alleyway across from their block of shops, the trio managed to get a good look at the crime scene. Blood was everywhere, spilled out into the street like there was a flood in front of the now partially burned down sandwich shop. Then the trio caught sight of what little remained of a body lying out in the street. A couple detectives were kneeling over it, wearing face masks and plastic gloves while they examined it. It had no head, arms, or legs. But they were able to identify it in an instant because it wore the tiniest pair of short shorts any of them had ever seen. So Paul's dead? Lantis gasped with a surprising amount of joy. This means we don't have to pay rent! Radix shushed him and pulled him along behind the building before any of the officers could look up and spot them. We don't have to pay rent now, right? Lantis asked again. I mean, I guess not, Radix said. But we still can't go back to the shop. Why not? Lantis demanded. Because we'll get blamed for that bullshit. Radix practically shouted. I guarantee it. Even if they have a suspect in custody, right now, who has tons of witnesses, and he's confessing, we'll still somehow be pegged as accomplices. But we didn't accomplices as anything, Lantis protested. That's how the law works, Radix explained. If a crime occurs near me, I must be responsible, even in cases where I was the victim. Oh, Lantis said. I understand. Oh, hey, we also have another body in our shop. Think they'll want to investigate it, too? Radix groaned. Oh, God. I forgot about that. Yeah, we're definitely all fucked. God damn it.
I'll be right back, guys,
Bowman said.
I found enough extra change to get me another soda at the sandwich shop.
Radix rushed to grab Bowman and pull him away from the alleyway before he could walk down it. No! Bad Bowman! Radix yelled.
But I need a soda!
Weren't you just listening to me?
No.
Well, I just finished explaining how we can never go back to the shop. Any of those shops on that entire block. In fact, we should probably make ourselves scarce from the whole city for a bit, Radix suggested. Bowman, can we go to your place? But I heard that we'd die if we stayed there, Lantis pointed out. Well, I can't go home. And do you have any place to go? Radix asked. Lantis thought about that for a moment, but couldn't come up with anything. Bowman began to walk back towards the sandwich shop, wondering if he could afford to get a cookie with his soda. And Radix pulled him back into the alleyway again. So, can we crash at your place, Bowman? Radix pressed. We'll just chill in your room until, I don't know, until something comes up.
Well, sure, that sounds good to me. I would enjoy some company,
Bowman said.
But you should know that I have a job now, and I'll likely be away at work a lot.
Radix was confused for a second, and then realized what he meant. No, Bad Bowman! I just told you, we can't go back to the shop. Is that understood?
Yeah, I hear ya,
Bowman said.
That's too bad. It was a nice place to work.
The trio went on to the gas station where Bowman's car was parked and used the soda money he had amassed to buy $50 worth of gas, just enough to get the old clunker back to the trailer park. There really wasn't enough room in Bowman's room for everyone to live, but beyond his room was considerably less survivable. So they'd just have to make do. A couple hours later, Bowman drove back up to the shop by himself. He couldn't get that close because of the police tape, so he parked down the road, got out of his car, and started walking. He counted change in his hand that he had managed to scrounge up, and wondered if it would be enough for a soda and a cookie at the sandwich shop. He also considered going by and seeing Miranda today, as she hadn't come by to see him in a while. It was understandable. She had her own things going on and didn't always have free time to just come by and see him. She'd certainly have some free bread for him, if nothing else. Bowman hadn't had a decent meal since the chicken paste incident last week. A 2-cent can of mush chicken, so terrifying that anyone who so much as heard it described would later bear no recollection of it. The human brain rejects acknowledging a can of chicken paste could possibly exist in reality. A police officer ran to stop Bowman after seeing him walk under the tape and continue down the sidewalk.
Sir, this here is a restricted area," the officer said.
Bowman suddenly realized he was being spoken to.
"Oh, hello there. I've really got to be getting to work."
The officer raised a brow.
"Do you work here?"
"Yeah,"
Bowman said.
"And so do my 2 partners. Oh, are they already waiting for me?"
"Nobody else is here but the investigation team," the officer said. "You should probably head on back home. These stores are going to be closed a long time, until the investigation is over."
"Oh, okay,"
Bowman said.
"Oh, that's right. Now I remember. My partners told me not to come back here, or else they would get arrested. Okay, take care now. Bye-bye then."
The officer was thrown off guard by that, and quickly stopped Bowman again.
Wait, they said what now?"
the officer asked.
"Actually, never mind. Do you know where I could find them?"
"Of course,"
Bowman said.
Why do you want to know?"
"Oh,"
the officer was trying to act casual.
"No real reason."
The judge wore a giant fake white beard, but was otherwise bald. He sat back and thumbed through the case documents, while the bailiff beside him practiced some sarcastic remarks in his head. The defense attorney was filling out a crossword puzzle in the newspaper, while the prosecutor had visions of sugar plums dancing in his head from all the money he was about to make off of this slam-dunk case. The trio had all spent 2 weeks in the slammer, as making bail was beyond impossible for them. Today they would sit in judgment of their peers, to be held accountable for the charge of first-degree murder. Given how fair this town's legal system was known to be, only the most respected and impartial members of the community had been summoned to jury duty. Slouching back and scratching his gonads, clearly visible through his see-through tighty-whities, was Sasquatch. Bringing all the fires of hell with him, Jesus sat in his ceremonial robes, a wooden cross hidden up one of his sleeves, which he had filed down to a real good point. And finally, soaking up all the laughter and joy from the room, and breathing out nothing but poisoned hatred, Mar lurked in the final juror seat. The rest of the jury was comprised of cardboard cutouts. The trio all sat together next to the defense attorney, all of them in clean orange jumpsuits, and all freshly showered. For Lantis, it would be the first time in his life. Somehow, he just felt so naked without his protective shield of musk. Lantis and Radix were both shooting death glares at Bowman.
"Damn it, Bowman!"
"Damn it, Bowman!" they said in unison.
"Oh, sure, blame me,"
Bowman said. They let their death glares drop. They knew that if they were ever going to get out of this alive, they'd have to think of something other than what they were going to do to Bowman when this was all over. "It's just so weird that you totally called all of this," Lantis said.
"I know, but it's still bullshit,"
Radix said.
"How the hell did all the fingers get pointed at us?"
"It's worse than you think. Have you noticed the jury?" Lantis asked.
You
are aware that that's like the 5th time you've asked me that, right? I'm not going to respond to it. But what I would like to know is why the hell are there 9 cardboard cutouts? What kind of jury is this? Radix ranted. Oh, whatever. Barney resigned myself to death. There was one single, lone, positive element in the entire courtroom. Miranda had come, and was currently sitting right behind the trio. She had been their only visitor in jail, and had reassured them from day one that she would find some way to bust them out, no matter what. It was difficult to talk to her right now, given that they were surrounded by people that wanted them dead. But it was a comforting presence, all the same.
So, I need to get a few of these facts straight, Sonnies.
The judge spoke up.
My files don't seem entirely, filled out. I have all the information on, let's see here, Radix, but, you there, Lantis, is it? How old are you?
18, Lantis said without thinking, just repeating back the age he had heard Radix tell Paul that he was, back when the shop was first being opened.
And when is your birthday?
The judge asked. Lantis had no idea, and no stock answer to give him. Today, he said, after failing to think up anything else.
So, July 14th, is it?
The judge asked.
Okay, then. And, what is your last name?
Lantis glanced over. The defense attorney's name tag read, Mr. Armstrong. And so he turned back to the judge and answered, Armstrong?
Right. Okay.
The judge was satisfied with all of this.
And, you, Bowman, what is your last name? Bowman,
he answered.
Right,
the judge said.
What I meant to ask was, what is your first name? My parents didn't give me one, because they're a couple lazy bastards that couldn't be bothered to think one up when I was born,
Bowman answered.
Now you shut your mouth,
Sasquatch yelled at him.
When you were born, you tore your ma's coochie up real wide. You didn't deserve a name after that.
Now you shut up, you gross bastard! I didn't want to hear about any of that!
Bowman yelled back. Say, Judge, Miranda stood up. I'm pretty sure that guy over there is Bowman's dad. Isn't that what's it called? A conflict of interest or something? The judge glanced over at the jury.
Now, you were all asked if you were related to anybody in these proceedings, and everyone here said no. So, is there anything I should be informed about before we continue?
The boys are liars, frauds, charlatans,
Mar declared.
Such lies can only come from a bunch of schmokers. Also the minds of the incredibly guilty. Lock them up forever, seal them underground, and let them rot. Rawr!
So, Dad, you gonna let this continue? Radix asked. You know I'm just gonna file for a mistrial if you go through with this. Radix actually wouldn't, as he had no idea how to even go about doing that. But he still hoped he could get his dad kicked off the bench. Getting a jury that was actually impartial would significantly increase his odds of surviving this trial.
If I am your father, as you say, then please come over here and let Tacky give you a hug.
Jesus replied, revealing the sharpened cross just inside of his sleeve, only to Radix. Radix recoiled in his seat, nearly falling out of it. The thought of getting anywhere near his old man sent shivers down his spine.
Oh, I likes this test,
Mar grinned.
Boy comes to me now.
Lantis shrank back in his seat. He and Radix exchanged glances, both knowing what had to be done. "Bowman," Radix began. "You do it," Lantis finished his thought.
Me? Why me?
Bowman demanded. "Just say that they're all your relatives or something," Lantis suggested. "That way, they're all kicked off the case, and the two of us aren't murdered."
Do you see how they plot and lie?
Jesus pointed out to the judge.
Do not worry, Judge. We 12 good men, miscellaneous, shall make certain that they are all cast down into the fires of hell, where they belong.
Miranda sat back in her seat, glaring furiously at the jury. If nothing else, she was certain now that this whole trial was a sham, and that her darling Bobo deserved to be free. Even if there was nothing else she could do for now but watch and hope for the best, she vowed that she would never rest until they could all walk free again. The judge, meanwhile, had heard quite enough accusations about conflicts of interest, and was ready to get on with the proceedings.
If you're all quite finished clowning around, we can get this court proceeding underway,
the judge said.
Now you've all been formally charged, and we've heard from the arresting officers what your links to Paul were. You all pled, not guilty. Would any of you like to recant your statement now, in order to potentially receive a lesser penalty before we begin calling up the witnesses? We do have some potentially damning evidence that the court bailiff has taken from the arresting officers, which has not been shown to the court yet. If you plead guilty now, it will be sealed up and not taken into account in my final verdict and sentencing.
Tough call, Lantis thought to himself. Their attorney turned to them and said, not even whispering but just talking casually so everyone could hear, "Want me to just go ahead and tell them that you all plead guilty? I mean, come on, you guys did do it, didn't you?" "Whose fucking side are you on?" Radix blurted out. "I'm on your side, can't you see that?" the attorney said flatly. "I'm trying to help you receive as little punishment as possible. You're all still young. You can do 10 years in the slammer standing on your head and be out of there in no time. In fact, if one of you were to take full credit for the murder of Paul, I could probably completely clear the other two." "Bowman did it," Lantis said immediately. "Did he? See now, that wasn't so hard. So, Bowman, are you prepared to plead guilty?"
Who? What? No!
Bowman acted surprised. "Damn it, Bowman! Bad Bowman!" Lantis groaned.
I'm gonna go to the lobby and get a snack. Do you guys want anything?
Bowman asked. Bowman got up and began to walk out of the courtroom to go get some snacks. The bailiff quickly ran after him to catch him and then roughly escorted him back to his seat. "Your Honor," the attorney spoke up, "my clients have decided to stick with their not guilty plea."
Very well. So be it. Will the prosecutor call his first witness to the stand?"
A series of witnesses began to come forward. First witness, Sheep-Eater, testified.
Brrr. They're all stupid. Brrr. And they're not a fan of my music. They didn't provide me with proper bathroom facilities. And the old clothes I wiped my bottom with gave me a rash. Brrr.
Second witness, the Big Gulp Lady, testified. "I just went in there for a big gulp, and they did not accommodate me. Can you believe that? All I wanted was a big gulp, the biggest size they got. Woo-hoo-hoo! And did they show any sort of murderous intentions while you were over there? Anything out of the norm?" the prosecutor asked her. "Oh, there was plenty out of the norm. Like usually when I go to get a big gulp, they have like snacks and stuff, a little hot dog tray, maybe some potato chips." "So when you go to their shop, they sell snacks?" "I mean in general. There's supposed to be candy. Oh, and there's supposed to be nachos and lotto tickets and cigarettes." "Well, they had lots of cigarettes, but none of them for sale. What kind of gas station did you boys run over there anyway?" "That's because we were running a computer repair shop, you dumb bitch!" Radix screamed at her. "Oh, dumb bitch, is it?" The big gulp lady was appalled. "Oh, hell no! Hey, Your Honor, these people confided in me that they were going to kill Phil. They told me, and then they demonstrated how they were going to do it."
Do you mean Paul?"
the judge asked. "I don't know. They killed lots of people, I bet. Woo-hoo-hoo!" Third witness, Tall Boy, testified. "What? I'm dead? Come on! Really? About 6 feet under?" Fourth witness, Dash, testified. "In the past, I was certain they weren't good people, but now I'm not so sure. But I'm certain they're no murderers, because I know for certain that they weren't at the shop the morning of the murder. Not that I care if they go to prison or not." Jesus leapt up from his seat.
"The witness is hostile. I demand that her testimony be stricken from the records."
The judge, being a member of Jesus' congregation, respectfully struck that testimony from the record. And that was the last witness.
Before we proceed, would the defense attorney care to question any of the witnesses?"
the judge asked. "Nah, that's all right," the attorney said, stumped on a particularly difficult crossword. What's a 4-letter word that means an expulsion of gas? I just don't get this one. "Judge, this guy doesn't represent us. Can we get someone else?" Lantis asked. He felt a little self-conscious making such a decision for everyone else, but he was just starting to get a bad feeling about this guy.
"I'm registered as a lawyer. Oh, do pick me."
Jesus stands up and raises a hand. "Never mind. This guy's good," Lantis stated, dejected.
"Very well, then,"
the judge said.
"Next up, our esteemed bailiff has some evidence left for us by the arresting officers. Would you care to explain to the court what it is you have?"
The bailiff steps in front of the judge's bench, carrying a folder with him.
"Yes, Your Honor. I have here several photographs of the innards of what these three call the shop. These photographs are quite disturbing. The front room looked normal enough, besides the dead body covered loosely by newspapers in the corner. But then the officers broke down the wall that these three had put up to discover a madhouse of chaos and destruction. It's obvious that some psychopath is running loose in our fair town. Now, I won't go so far as to say it's these three, but someone who had steady access to that shop has been capturing and murdering people in what can only be described as a torture house, straight out of the imagination of Bosch.
The bailiff hands the judge the folder he was carrying with him.
"Oh, great Caesar's ghost! This is horrid!"
Wait, Lantis was trying to recall. We weren't harboring anybody's in there besides tall boys. What are they going on about? Well, ask him, Radix said, too mentally exhausted from how screwed up all this was to muster up much care any more. "Excuse me, Judge?" Lantis raised his hand, not sure what else to do. The judge glanced his way, so he continued. "Just what do those photos show, anyway? Can we have a look at them? Just how many dead bodies were there?"
"Your attorney may view the photos if he sees fit, but you do not have permission to handle courtroom evidence,"
the judge said back. "No, that's quite all right," the attorney said, motioning that he didn't want to see the photos. "I'm in the middle of a battle of wits with a crossword puzzle. I don't need any distractions right now." "Are you hearing this?" Lantis said, shooting to his feet, motioning his hands between the attorney and the judge. A police officer steps up behind Lantis and shoves him back down into his seat.
"Would you like for us to appoint you another defense attorney or not?"
the judge demands. Jesus, in the jury box, motions to himself suggestively before rubbing his hands together, imagining how great it would be to get that much closer to those three. "No," Lantis said meekly.
"Very well,"
the judge said.
"But to answer your question, there seems to be enough body parts in these photos to constitute, perhaps 24 individuals. My Lord in heaven, this is sickening."
24? Radix spat out that number. "Bullshit! Listen up, old-timer. We didn't kill nearly that many people." "Radix!" Lantis snapped. "I mean, we didn't kill anyone. But there still shouldn't be nearly that many bodies in our shop." Lantis just banged his head on the table, unable to believe how deep of hole they had just dug themselves into. And to think, all he wanted to do was follow a nice lady in the woods to a place he could be fed. And now look where that got him.
"All of the bodies seemed to be in what was, at one time, a kitchen area. Tell me, what were they doing in there?"
the judge asked. Radix and Lantis exchanged glances, suddenly realizing what had been found. What they didn't realize was that the formless horror in the kitchen sink was no longer there. It left this world a while back, so the police hadn't seen what they had, but it left behind what it had done. It was the sink!" Lantis blurted out, trying to explain it to the judge. "It had gone sour. I bet it lured all those people in through a back door at night." The judge said.
"And why is it that the detectives didn't notice something as strange as a killer sink? And is your party absolutely certain that they don't want to go ahead and plead guilty? Or perhaps is this some kind of insanity plea you're working on here?"
"But I'm telling the truth. I have no idea what was wrong with it, but that kitchen was never right. It was a bad kitchen," Lantis insisted. The judge exchanges a glance with the bailiff, who only shrugs.
"So,"
the judge wanted to press on,
"what else do you have in the evidence folder?"
"Just pictures of Paul, sir,"
the bailiff said. The bailiff handed the pictures over to the judge.
"This is the body of the victim?"
The judge tried his best to hold down his lunch.
"Great God in heaven! This is the most revolting thing I've seen in all of my years. Oh, I won't pass judgment
on who I think may have done this now. But whoever it is can never be allowed to see the light of day again. This is repugnant. I'm going to be sick. All right, everyone, listen up. These photos will be shown to the jury. Then we will take a brief recess while the jury deliberates its verdict.
Mar quickly raised her hand, wanting to say something.
I requests we skip over the recess. I'm sure's it won't take but a quick moment of chatting amongst ourselves here.
That's highly unorthodox. But for this very strange case, I will allow it,
the judge said. And so the trio all figured the same thing. Everything that happened from here to their sentencing were mere formalities. They had come so far, survived so much, and now they were getting blamed for shit they didn't do. And yet none of them could truly say that they never saw it ending like this. That's it for us, isn't it? Lantis asked. Now hold on just one damn second, Radix said, bolting up from his seat. Enough is fucking enough, you old fuck! Who the hell do you think we are? Wrongfully arresting us, calling us guilty as fuck liars right to our fucking faces, like your mama never beat any manners into you. And then you assign us a fucking dumbass lawyer with no real options that could possibly improve our situation. Fuck your stupid ass. Radix then flicks the judge off with both hands and sits back down in a huff. Lantis stared at him, slack-jawed. How the hell was that supposed to help? Lantis yelled. It helped me feel better, Radix said simply. Fine, Lantis said, suddenly realizing that it all came down to him now. I guess this is where I get up and give everyone a big final speech, which changes their minds about us. Right? Yep. This is your time to shine. Show 'em what you've got, kid, Radix said. Lantis's heart pounded faster as he stood. The distance between himself and the judge seemed to stretch on, longer and longer, like a hallway one would run down in a nightmare. But if no one else could save them, perhaps he could be the one to find the right combination of words which would sway everyone, change everyone's mind about them, convince not only the humans in the court that they were innocent, but maybe even change the minds of the monsters that wanted to see them all dead. He just had to dig down deep and give it his all, speaking straight from the heart. Listen, Lantis began. We're just 3 guys that had a dream. A dream to... No, fuck it. I ain't doing this. Lantis sat back down. Bowman, you give them the dramatic save our asses speech. It's unexpected, so it has to work. Bowman looked at Lantis, and then looked over at the judge. He stood up, raised one finger into the air before saying,
I farted.
Bowman took his seat again. Lantis beat his forehead on the table way harder than earlier.
So...
The judge was ready to get out of here before those 3 said anything else stupid.
Has the jury reached a verdict? Or do you wish to request more time, after all?
Jesus cracked his neck, cracked his knuckles, and then stood up to represent the jury.
Oh, we have reached our verdict,
Jesus said.
We, the jury, find the defendants
Dramatic pause.
Eternally damned. We find them damned, cast into the fiery lakes of the abyss, where they will be steeped in pitch, while demons rip them apart.
And Mar slams her claws down while rising up to add,
We find them all guilty, Your Honor, and we sentence them to an eternity in school, to be given textbooks and a curriculum and essays to write and long, tedious lectures to listen to. Rawr!
Yes, well, I actually am the one who gives the sentencing,
the judge said, wanting them all to calm down already.
You just give the verdict. Your suggestions are all, oh my, noted. However,
Mar hissed as she slunk back into her seat.
You dare to foil me, do ya? I'll be back.
in light of all of the incredibly damning testimony through which a jury of 3 upright citizens and 9 cardboard cutouts have come to a verdict of guilty, I hereby sentence all 3 of you to no less than 25 years to life, with no possibility of parole. Case dismissed. Bailiff, take these 3 lunatics out of my sight,
the judge said, slamming his gavel down. Well, we've certainly had better days than this, Lanta said. Not by much, Radix pointed out.
I'm hungry,
Bowman said. Yes, we know. We all are, Radix said. That concludes The Shop. However, stay tuned next Tuesday for the next installment in the series. If you'd like to reach me, you can do so at Lantis Armstrong on Twitter. That's LANTISARMSTRONG. And if you'd like to reach the author, you can send me your message, and I assure you he'll receive it, because we're the same person. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us again for next week's brand new audiobook, The Shop 2, The Apartment.